Hello, and welcome to another Behind the Poem story. As you know, I have been telling the stories behind my poems for a little over a year now. I started them a month before the book was released, which was in April, and the book was released on the 9th of May. And every week, more or less, one or two, maybe a day late, or, one or two extra ones along the way. But mostly I have been going through all of the poems in my collection between hindsight and foresight for a year. There are 57 poems in the collection, and I'm down to the wire now, down to the last one that I have to tell the story of. Now, this is both good and bad because I saved the best for last. It's the last poem that's in the book, and it's the one that is closest to my heart. It's the one that means the most to me emotionally as a writer, and so I wanted to save it for last. But it also means that it's going to be difficult to say goodbye. Now, thankfully, I keep writing, and thankfully it's a very long poem, so it will take more than one video. So this is only the beginning. I should have posted last Saturday, but there was an irony in the date of when this poem comes up, in that my birthday is on the 22nd of May. And so I decided that I would post the first video of a poem that, contained my early years on the day that I was born. Because so much of what I am was begun there. So much of what I continue to be and grow into came from there, and the loving home and family that I have there still. This poem, Coordinates of Home, was based on a gift, a Christmas present. Now, obviously, there are loads of different shops and loads of different handcrafts that are made, and there's lots of ways to access these things these days. But this was a gift from an Etsy shop, a necklace that was given to me by my mother, which had etched into it the exact longitude and latitude of my family home that I grew up in. Now, when I opened the box, I knew exactly what it was. There was no explanation, no note or anything like that, but seeing a longitude and latitude, having been given it by my mother, I know that it is, I knew exactly what it was. She started to explain, and I figured out what it was straight away. And there was something so moving about being able to have the exact location of home with me at all times. Because a lot of what I feel about home is like that. I'm a bit of a prodigal daughter. I do live abroad. I have done for almost 2 decades. I very, very, very much love home, and I love going home. And in a lot of ways, it's always with me wherever I go and whatever I'm doing. But I do stay away probably longer and more often than my parents and my family would like. But I wrote the poem almost as a homage to that home and that family, because everything that I am, everything that I was, everything that I will be, comes from those experiences in a loving and wonderful family that I have there, just like it says in the poem. So like many different explorations of the soul, like many different ways that we approach writing as poets, that we try to capture emotions that resonate and are personal and universal, that everybody who reads it can get something out of it. Coordinates of Home was a little bit more indulgent for me. People that I know that read it were moved by it. People that I shared it with said to me that it made it very, very clear that I was American, and there are a lot of experiences in there that do kind of show my roots as being American. But there's also people who have told me that the sensory experience, the rich kind of description where you feel like you're walking through my home with me, also reminds them of their own home and their own experiences growing up, or like a dream or a kind of a thing that they have seen in movie sequences and things like that. A lot of my poetry is sensory rich. It's on purpose. I access life by paying attention to the world around me. I access my emotions by thinking about how they make me feel, what the sights and sounds and smells might bring those up, and trying to recall those memories using sensory experiences. And so with Coordinates of Home being moved by the Christmas present from my mother, I wanted to try and capture what home meant to me, what it continues to mean to me. And so I started from the outside in. Now, when you look at a human being, when you look at a person, we are a summary of our experiences. I've had this conversation many times over the last couple of months, couple of years, where we are a sum of our parts. That's the good, the bad, the ugly, the happy, the joyful, and the depths of sorrow. It's all in where we have been and what we have said and done and how we have interacted with other people of the same way. All of our puzzle pieces of our personality, of our soul, our mind, our heart, are created by each moment in time. And if we like who we are, then we need to appreciate that all the pieces of our life make us that person. And we need to not regret the darker periods, not regret some of the hurtful times, because those are reflections of the stronger periods and the happier times. You can only see a light turn on when it's nighttime. You can only see a dark shadow in a well-lit room. It's you can't have part of a person. You have to have the whole of a person. And a lot of the whole of what we are is formulated when we're young. Now, I was lucky. I was extremely lucky. I had a fabulous, fabulous family. I had an excellent, excellent life growing up, and I know that. I recognize that, and I wanted to capture that. I wanted to share that with other people. I wanted to show part of my soul, because by showing you where it came from. That's part of the reason why I'm delaying till my birthday to release the first of these videos on it. Now, I want to talk about the poem itself. Is free verse, and so any rhyming that happens is part of the rhythm of that free verse. It is purposely ambiguous. It is purposely different line lengths. Sometimes if there is a single word that's a line on its own, that's on purpose. If it is a random verse length, that's also on purpose. Because when we explore memories, they're not all the same length. When we explore ideas and emotions connected with things and places and times, they are not always regular, they're not always recognizable, and they're not always rhythmic. So in this poem, I start from outside the home. Just like when you approach a new person, you judge them based on their outside, or you judge them based on their appearance. Not always negatively, but we do look at how someone is on the outside before we start exploring what's on the inside of their personality. And so I do the same with my home, almost like it was a person, an entity in my life. It's a container which contains most of me. So on the first two pages, 89 and 90 in the book, are contained the kind of outside of the house. I'm moving towards it like I'm moving towards the memories. And each step and each factor that I talk about with the house and the yard and the dog and the picket fence, it's all very me, it's all very American, and it's all very true. It's real. It's like I was walking home, just like I'm doing mentally with the memories as I write it. Now, the opening bits talk about the outside of the house, the bits that are in the backyard, the barn, memories connected with those things a little bit, but it still focuses at the beginning of the poem on the physical aspect of the house, the sounds that it makes when I open the back door, and the jukebox in the back porch. And as I move into the house, I'm moving deeper into the physicality of it, but also deeper into the emotionality of it. Once we get to page 90 to 93 and we talk about the kitchen and the two front rooms, we're starting to get closer to how the poem eventually developed. We're starting to get closer to a blend of physical and emotional and memory till they're almost not separate. Because in my own mind, my own heart, those things are not separate. The physical place of home is intimately connected all of the knickknacks and furniture pieces and things on the shelves, they're all part of my memory, part of what makes me who I am. Now, I'm only going to talk about this a little bit. I wanted to really kind of preamble and set up what the next couple of videos are going to talk about, which goes deeper into the poem. But for the downstairs, I kind of stuck with the physical environment more than, say, the memory of it. And placing it physically at the end of the collection was also on purpose, because it is the one that matters to me the most. It is the one that I go back home kind of symbolically every time I write, every time I think about who I am and what I'm doing. And so that's kind of the thought I want to leave you with this first video with, is that on the ground floor, from outside in, this poem, Coordinates of Home, is the keystone to me as a person and a writer. And it's an homage to my parents. It's an homage to my family. It's an homage to where I started. And so today, of all days, I think about where I started when I think about where I'm going. And if you are a writer and you are putting yourself into your poems, you're putting yourself into your art, and you want to think about how to arrange your collection, how to organize it, honestly, decide where the most important one goes first, and everything else falls into place. Because for me, when I get to the end, I always go back to the beginning. I hope you've enjoyed this bit. I'll talk a little bit more about Coordinates of Home moving upstairs next time, and then further on in the poem in other weekly videos. This will be the last poem that I talk about from Between Hindsight and Foresight, but I will drop a little hint, as a reward for getting to this part of the video. There is another book on the way. I have just had a manuscript accepted, and so I will be telling you more about that as it develops. Keep your eyes peeled and your ears open. Until next time, until next week, have a great, great day. Think about who you are and write it down.